Hey everyone, it's Nightlight9. In this video, we'll be going over the very hard version of the new dungeon ranking event, Paina Coast. I filmed this video yesterday, but didn't have time to do the editing till today, but as you can see, my score was still good for a top 100 ranking at the moment. We did get an S+ on very hard, and I'm going to walk you through the team setup and all of the fights. So looking at my team, I'm using Tifa, Aerith, and Cloud, about 156,000 power. Now with Aerith, she's set up for healing. I would say the most important weapon she's using is the Chocobo Staff. It's good for heal, magic defense, and solid mana ward with the magic defense increase definitely helps. There are several bosses that will try to magic down before they use a magic attack, and that can save everything. For sub-equipment here, I'm using the Pumpkin Blaster for heal and magic defense. I'm using the Crystal Gloves for HP, and I'm using the Beach Parasol mostly for HP and magic defense, just typical survival setup. Now everybody here will be using some form of Circle Sigil Break because all the enemies will require that. I'm also using some form of thunder damage for everybody because a lot of the enemies are weak to thunder, and if they're not weak to thunder, they're going to be weak to wind, so everybody will have a form of that. Cloud here, most importantly, I'm using him for his lightning. I'm using Thunder Lance 3. I do not have the bigger one unlocked for Rama because I can't quite beat that fight yet, not legitimately. Other than that, he has Arrow Blow for arrow damage, Circle Sigil Break, and then all of the rest is just set up for basically best physical attack stats I could get on him and lightning potency. And if we scroll down, you can see I'm only able to get level 3, but that's still good for 25% bonus damage on lightning, so that will come into play. And then Tifa, she's kind of the heart and soul of this operation. Mostly because of motor drive here with Sonic Spiral, boost wind potency +8. I will note that that is all of the wind potency I have on her, so it's 15% bonus damage. Sonic Spiral's a physical ability, so I'm setting up for that. Upper Shot here with Tiger Fangs is also useful, again, just to lower the magic attack, mostly, of some of these enemies. As for sub-equipment, I mostly just went with stuff that gave the most stats, especially for physical damage. She's got a form of thunder damage, she's also got a form of Circle Sigil Break, and she's using Diamond Dust level 4. So, that is the team strategy here, and notice that wind potency is up +20%, so that will be important because we're going to be paying it forward with the track that we take. I'm going to skip through the first, small fight and then speed up the beginning of the replay, mostly because I don't feel like anybody will have much of trouble. But most importantly, as far as the route that I'm taking, we're going to go with Mole Crawler first because he is, I think, one of the toughest bosses that you have to fight in this. So we'll just go ahead and tackle him first so that he's not quite as difficult. The first thing I focus on is taking out the ads because this is going to be a long fight. He has, kind of a lot of HP and pretty high defense, so this is just kind of a slog. So we take out the other enemies just to make sure that we're taking the least amount of overall damage while we get through this. And he is weak to lightning and earth. He resists wind, so we won't be doing any wind. We'll just be constantly hitting him with lightning damage and hoping that Cloud can charge up his summon so that we can do, maximum amount of damage. And we're also just going to use the Diamond Dust here because we just want to get this guy knocked out as fast as possible, and we'll have time to kind of recharge those because this fight does take so long. He eventually, like you could just see a little bit ago when I used the summons, he will give himself a magic defense down debuff, which is a great time to really start trying to pour on the damage, and mostly you're just spamming skills over and over again. If he does get to use Blazing Ray, it's not the end of the world, but if you do him first, he shouldn't be that big of a problem. Now that we've cleared the first boss, we're going to get our first buff, and we're going to take the wind potency +30% at the cost of lightning potency. The reason is, again, we're going to be paying this forward to try to beat Inferno Lantern at the end, so we will want as much wind damage as possible. And next on our path, we're going to be going towards Scorpion Sentinel. Also, because we've hindered our ability to do lightning damage, we're going to take out the lightning enemies first, because that way they're weaker. And so we're trying to make this whole path go in a way that will be most convenient for us, so that we can try to, tackle everything in an order that allows us to basically get through it with the least amount of problems. Tail Laser here is a magic attack. He will continually try to debuff your magic defense. This is where Tifa's upper shot really comes into play. Try to just debuff him as much as possible while he's doing that. Most importantly, though, he is weak to ice. So that's another reason we're not too worried about getting our lightning debuffed, because Shiva's going to do quite a bit of damage, as you can see there. And then from that point on, you're just going to spam all of your stuff. And hopefully he doesn't get too many attacks in on you. You can probably just kill him without even having to break his sigils. And you'll notice throughout this run that I'm prioritizing DPS and just getting people down as fast as possible over healing and survivability, because I think this, along with most of the content we've had lately, just really favors that playstyle. So here we'll take the lightning potency and the wind potency, again, just to increase our damage. And then after taking this item, we will head towards Airbuster Prototype, which is going to be the last of the enemies or symbol bosses here that are weak to lightning. So after that, it's going to be all wind from here on out. And during this fight, this is going to be the first guy that I'm not focusing on the ads. I'm just going straight at him. He is going to cast EM Field pretty early on, and immediately after that, or shortly after that, he will start his sigil break process, which again is one of the reasons why we're able to just kind of focus solely on him and we're not worried about the add-ons, because this fight should be relatively short, and so we're not really worried about the extra damage that we're going to take. So we immediately start breaking the sigils. I'm going to pop over to Tifa and just start jamming her wind ability, because sometimes the AI doesn't like to cast it until the bar is a little bit further than I'd like. So several times you might see me jump over just to make sure I get as much damage in as I can. Since he's weak to lightning, I'm going to go ahead and use this. No reason not to. And there we go. We've taken him out relatively easily and didn't take much damage in the process. Okay, and with Airbuster out of the way, we're going to get our next buff, and we're offered a plus score here, but minus 40 magic is not good magic defense. So we'll take the plus magic defense, because I think we want to make sure that we don't have any problems against the final boss. We'll fight Zoo here. He's weak to wind, and I personally think he is the easiest of all of the enemies, especially because, we've taken wind potency 2 different times. So it will be the easiest to just kind of burst him down. And I'm not focusing on the ads against him either, just trying to do straight damage. And I'm even going to ultimately not cast ATB type heals like Kiraga. I'm going to just save Healing Wind, because every bit of damage counts. We want to kill him if possible before he gets off any big attacks. This will ultimately just help us get through the battle, get a better score, and enable us to use, kind of just the least amount of items possible. So you see that he starts Great Gale after a while, and my goal is just to kill him as quickly as possible. We could have survived a shot from that and killed him shortly after, but best practice is to try to just DPS him as fast as possible and kill him before he even gets a chance to use it. And now that we've defeated Zoo, we will get our last buff. Here, we're going to take the score boost, because I don't think healing potency is going to be a necessary thing for us to have. But when you do it, take whatever you think you're going to need to beat the final boss, especially if you're going for Inferno Lantern. There's going to be one more fight up here. We run into it right now. We're going to go ahead and just skip through that via the power of editing, and we will head up towards the final boss, Inferno Lantern. Now here I am going to use my first and second item of the run, Mega Elixir, just an amazing item. and very efficient. Arrow Cocktail I'm going to put on Tifa, just to make sure that we can kill this guy as fast as possible, because that is the game plan here. So we click yes, and we enter into the battle. Now this one, I am going to pay attention to the ads. I really want to make sure that survivability is met, so I'm gonna kill them after I do a little bit of initial damage, just to get those charges out of the way. Like I said, I wasn't too worried about his ultimate damage, so I cast Healing Wind anyway, mostly just to get the buff on the lightning. Although ultimately, the summons just don't really do a lot of damage while he's got those resistances up. So we start killing the ads so that he doesn't absorb them to do even more damage with his big AoE moves. That was something that I was consciously, trying to avoid. So we kill this first ad here momentarily, and then because he is casting Glacial Breath and I don't want to take too much damage, I'm going to start trying to get Upper Shot in, which I barely get in before this, ultimately debuffing his magic attack. And you can see it still does, 1500 to almost 1800 damage. So good thing that we debuffed him. We'll go ahead and top everybody up, kill off the other ad, and then go back to DPSing. I see that he's now going to use Maleficent Surge, so again, I'm going to hold off on my damaging just to make sure that I get another debuff in, because I don't want to be, potentially one-shotted or get into one of those damage versus healing races. So we take, a little bit less than 2,000. Again, we're going to top everybody up and kind of just go back to work. And I'm constantly going to be going back to Tifa, or whoever your main damage dealer is for this fight. As I had said, we had paid it forward from the very first fight, always taking the win potency with this fight in mind, because if we do things in an order that makes sense, most of the fights have been honestly relatively easy, and so we were trying to make it to where this fight would also be easy. As soon as I clear the one, I see that the symbol has started, so I'm going to go ahead and just start breaking sigils as fast as possible. And I see my summons come up, but I'm going to hold those until his buffs to defense go away, because I do want them to do maximum damage. Now that I have him interrupted, just to be safe, I do switch over to kill off the second ad. Again, I just feel like it's better safe than sorry if you've made it this far through the run, but you can judge for yourself whether you think you could take the damage that he might dish out in the event that you're not able to finish him off fast enough. Here, I see his defense buffs go down, so I immediately jam all of the limit breaks, the summons, just trying to get the most damage in as possible. Shiva, not very useful against this, but there's no reason not to use it. So we throw it in anyway for an extra 2,000 damage, and immediately back in on Tifa. And we're just going to try to burst him down before he gets this Maleficent Surge off again. And I feel pretty confident that we can do that. We have, quite a bit of time, and with the last Sonic Spiral, he goes down. And that is the Inferno Lantern fight. He is the final boss for our run, and that is the run in its entirety as far as the fights go. And this will be good for an S+ score. So if you found this video helpful, if it helped you clear it or get an S+ of your own, subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss future guides. And also, I did something different in this video where I tried to skip through the pop-up fights and speed up the early battles to keep the video shorter. If you liked or didn't like that change, drop a comment so that I know how everybody would like to see future guides. Other than that, thanks for watching.